I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
Dang. Another receiver traded, another big name receiver traded, and no first round picks included.
Forcing his way out.
Much like the Hopkins trade. No first round picks included. And the guy that we're talking about is number 11. Well, he's number 2 now, but it's Julio Jones. He got traded to the Tennessee Titans this past week. Yeah. It was official after he came on. What was that show? It was Shannon and Skip, Undisputed. I don't know what it's called. Right. It came out, and he said that he wanted to get out of there. And then after that, found out that he didn't even know he was on air when he said that. So that's one thing.
That did come out? It was official? He didn't know?
Yeah, he came out and said he didn't know he was on air. So a lot of people are saying that's bad juju on Shannon Sharp for doing that.
He did him dirty if that was the case, for sure.
You got to let him know that he's on air. But nonetheless, Julio Jones traded to the Titans. He wanted his way out. The Titans, I mean, the Falcons kind of wanted to clear up some cap space. Now they have about $15 million free in cap space to sign their draft class and maybe get some other guys. So with the Falcons, that means Calvin Ridley is your new wide receiver 1, and Kyle Pitts. He's going to be asked to produce right away. What do you think about the trade, Ben? Do you like it? Do you think the Titans solidify themselves in the AFC as a real player?
I mean, they won the division last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? They took it from the Colts, or no?
I think the Titans won the division. I could be mistaken. Let me pull it up. But go ahead.
I mean, they were right there, and we saw the year prior they got to the AFC title game and went down to the Chiefs. So Tannehill, it seems like they paid Tannehill. They've said Tannehill's their guy. You know, they have A.J. Brown out there, a monster. Now they go and line up Julio next to him. They have the NFL rushing king, Mr. 2,000 yards, Derrick Henry as well. I mean, bro, that offense is – if Tannehill just doesn't turn the ball over, I mean, we're talking about that's a Super Bowl roster, man. At all key positions. They did lose the tight end, who I liked a lot. Jonnu Smith. They did lose him. I don't know who they brought in to replace that tight end spot, because that would be the only weakness that I see in them right now. I mean, we can't say shit about their O-line. Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards, bro. You know what I mean?
So more 8 men in the box.
No, as long as Tannehill, I mean, and these are guys who you don't have to throw necessarily 35, 40-yard passes to. They can take the slant to the house. You know what I mean?
Shit.
They're both yak receivers. Julio and A.J. Brown, both big-time yards after catch guys. I like the move. We saw the Titans went and signed Clowney last year as well. They're active, bro. They're actively going for it. They see that the window's here. Listen, when I was following the Texans, I mean, that was a big rival. You know what I mean? And they weren't that scary until they went and got Tannehill, you know, after the Mariota days. But now they got Tannehill, and they've kind of taken the division over the last 3 years from the Colts, who used to be running it for the most part. So, and Mike Vrabel, their head coach, another guy, intense as hell, loves going for it. That division is theirs to win, and the odds to win the AFC South are even. Titans even, Colts even. And I think that there's an advantage with the Titans.
Once we start talking more about NFL and giving out some NFL futures, that might be one that we look to, because I for one, I'm not a fan of the Colts hitching it all on Carson Wentz. I still don't trust Carson Wentz. I know the Colts have a good defense, and that's probably where they got the heads up on the Titans, because that is their weak spot this year. Their defense does not look too good, but they're going to be able to play the possession game, and they're going to be able to score on you, because you can't double team A.J. Brown or Julio Jones now. I mean, A.J. Brown's not going to get any more double teams. No. I know the guy on the other side of him was Corey Davis, who they declined his 5th-year option and kind of let him walk.
Who do they have in the slot, Roland? Do you know?
Slot receiver for the Titans. I'm
wide receiver. Out. So here we go. They got A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. Have none of these other guys. Oh, Josh Reynolds. Boom.
Josh Reynolds. There you go. And he's a guy that came over from
the Rams, isn't
the Rams. Yeah. Josh Reynolds, a Texas A&M guy.
From San Antonio. Yeah, from San Antonio.
He's proved to be serviceable. Like, he had a couple of games last season for the Rams where he stole some shine from Kupp and Robert Woods. So definitely capable receiving core that they got there. And the main thing for me that I like about it is you have to play them straight up now. You have to play them straight up. Before, you'd be like, okay, we're just going to pack the box against Derrick Henry and, turn them into a passing team, which worked out most of the time. They didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but just in the grand scheme of things, I think this puts them, right there. I'm not going to say they're on the same level as the Chiefs, but it puts they're definitely a player.
They're right there with the Steelers and the Bills, man, to be honest.
Yeah, they're there. It's like, for me, it's like the Chiefs above everybody else. You got the Bills, the Ravens, and the Titans. I think they're all kind of there. And then you got the Browns, who can also make another push. I know they got OBJ coming back this season, but definitely like this move for the Titans. Now, on the flip side.
Yeah, let's look at it from the Falcons side.
The flip side, the Falcons, like I said, they're trying to clear up some space, and they're trying to start new, it seems like. Although you would think if they're starting new, they would have looked at the quarterback position, but they seem to still think that Matt Ryan can get it done. I know Julio Jones, I saw some quote that came out. He said that he just wants a quarterback who can get him the deep ball. So I don't know if that's a shot at his guy, Matt Ryan, but they had a good connection while they were there.
And we saw Ridley catching plenty of deep balls as well. I really don't think that was a problem. I think that his time had just worn out there, bro. He was a guy who was scoring like one touchdown. I believe he had one touchdown or two touchdowns a season ago. Injury riddled as of recent.
Only played 6 games last season.
There with Atlanta. And I think Atlanta, knowing that Julio was so hell-bent on getting out, that's what made their draft pick a no-brainer with old boy from Florida. You know what I mean? A guy who, all fair, me and you were talking about fantasy football already because it's almost that time. Mm-hmm. But you said that, they're projecting him to go really high, probably after Kittle and Kelsey, that type of high. Right. And I mean, it could be that. We've seen Atlanta be a very air raid offense, been down a lot, having to come back. Ridley, we're going to find out about Ridley.
Shoot. Well, I mean, the games that he had without Julio Jones, I saw some stat. He did put up some wide receiver 1 numbers.
I feel you. But we've seen some guys like Juju, when AB left and it was his turn to take the step up. Look, Ridley's been a baller. I feel like Atlanta, like we said, they didn't even get a first rounder for this. I believe. What were the details exactly?
It was, so the Falcons sent Julio Jones over for they sent Julio Jones in a 6th-round pick, and in return, they got a 2022 2nd-round pick and a 4th in 2023. So they just got a 2nd and a 4th back, which is crazy thinking, you have an all-pro guy in Julio Jones, but I guess his value was tanked a little bit with his injuries. And
time was probably just worn out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So they wanted to get him out.
So it makes sense. I think that the Falcons are going to be losing a lot again. Like you said, they didn't go quarterback.
Is there a team that you wish would have made the move for Julio?
I think the Packers should have made the move for Julio.
The Packers, or the one that I've been seeing thrown out there, and I kind of agree, is the Ravens. The Ravens could have used some help in their receiving core.
But if he says, I want a QB who can get me the deep ball.
Hey, I mean, Lamar can sling it. He has a rocket arm, but it's the accuracy sometimes that's not there.
I think this is a good fit, man. I really didn't know that it was an option. I know the Patriots came up a lot as well as one of the options. I know Russell Wilson, had liked the idea, but the Seahawks just paid Tyler Lockett, and they brought Carson back. They're not ones to really spend money, but that was an option as well. I figured if they didn't go out and sign AB in the offseason, they weren't going to go trade for Julio. The price tag was just much steeper. But Patriots was, I think, everybody's, landing spot for the most part. And the Patriots, who did most of their spending on free agents, real early in free agency.
Hunter Henry and Jonnu.
Right. I don't know if this was just, too big of a contract for them and not worth it or what it was. But, I mean, Mac Jones would have been set up pretty nicely there. It wouldn't have been bad for him.
So do you think Julio Jones is going to have a pretty good year with the Titans?
I'm going to say 6 or 7 touchdowns for Julio this coming year.
Yeah, I like Julio to have a good year. I liken it to, DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of people were questioning whether he was going to have a good year with the Falcons. I think he's going to be able to slide right in and start producing. I don't think he'll ever be at the level that he was with the Falcons because obviously it's still going to be 55% run, 45% pass for the Titans. They're not going away from King Henry. I don't see that happening. But man, there's I wouldn't want to tackle.
They're going to be a
Henry,
high-scoring offense.
AJ Brown or Julio Jones. Those are three guys that you don't want to tackle.
Yeah, last year they were third in total yards per game. Obviously, second rushing and 23rd passing. So I would expect their passing to be around 15 or 16. A slight jump. The rushing is going to stay there, but they're going to be a high-scoring team, man. I don't know too much about their defense, so maybe we're going to be seeing a lot of overs coming from the Titans, even though they will be running the ball. Maybe that'll kind of balance it out.
Mm-hmm.
But for the Falcons, I see them sucking again and drafting the quarterback this coming year, to be honest with you.
They have to, because they didn't go quarterback this year. A lot of people thought that they might have pulled the trigger on one of the big 3 or 4 quarterbacks this past year, but they went Kyle Pitts. So interesting decision for the Falcons. I still think it's the Buccaneers division there in the NFC South. But much like you, I think they're going to end up back in the top 10 of the draft and looking
top 5
for Matt Ryan's heir apparent. But hey guys, we talking about sports podcast, and we're back for another episode. We just wanted to introduce the big news that happened in the NFL this season, or in this offseason, excuse me. But it's a 2-man show today. Me, Roland, and we got Ben over here. Ben, how have you been?
I've been good, bro. Bunch of playoff basketball, playoff hockey watching. Watching playoff basketball has gotten me back in the gym, man. I went and signed up at the Rec, and I've been playing some pickup basketball. Played 3 days this week, so it's been nice to get back out there and
how's the stroke looking?
A little bit.
How's the stroke looking?
It's good. Game 1, you know what I mean? We play up to 15. I'll have like 5 or 6 points out of the 15, but after that, when I start getting tired, fam, the stroke's not there much longer.
Yeah, man. I joined a 3-on-3 basketball league with one of our guys that used to play on the salsa with us with Ducky. Ducky, him and his brother started up a team, and it's a 5-man team, and they asked me to be the 5th. So I was like, all right. And the only reason why I agreed to it is because it's 3-on-3 and it's half court. And you know how it got with some of those games that we got ourselves into, some track meets over there. It's the legs are not the same.
I mean, imagine like if it was half court. I know that it is 3-on-3, so it'd be different. But oh my God, fam! I used to have to be running up and down, and I'm heavy. I'm heavy right now. I'm trying to get down, but yeah, bro, this full court stuff. It's been good trying to get back in the swing of it. And they actually started a 3-on-3 league there. They closed down half of the court. They have like 8 courts here at the Rec.
Dude, that might be at the same one because I'm playing in New Braunfels.
Oh, that's it then. That
might be it. Yeah, you might see me pull up then.
At Das Rec.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's where I'm going to be playing. So
that's where
maybe I'll get there early next week or the week after that, and we can get in the game before.
You can warm up. Yeah, they've got like 8 courts, so there's definitely enough room to warm up and shit. But yeah, bro, that's pretty much it. Looking forward to this weekend's big fight.
Dude, there's a lot of fights going on. I saw that Lamar Odom and Aaron Carter are fighting too.
That's first I hear about that.
There's an 80-pound difference. No big deal. But yeah, man, I'm glad to be back. We had maybe 1 or 2 weeks off, or at least I haven't been here for the past 2 weeks. But glad to be back. The summer's officially here, so there's a bunch of stuff to talk about. We got NBA playoffs, like you just mentioned. The MLB's heating up, and mandatory mini camps are underway for the NFL. So definitely lots of stuff going on. But let's keep it with the NFL real quick. And there's a little bit more news to talk about, and it's concerning one of your former boys, Deshaun Watson. Apparently, there's links to him going to the Denver Broncos. Kareem Jackson, his former teammate, went on Aqib Talib's podcast. It's called the Catch and Fades podcast, and he said Denver is exactly where Deshaun wants to be. He cited that he has a great relationship with Deshaun Jackson, and that he's been talking to him the past couple of weeks, and that's where he wants to be. What do you think about that? Do you think Deshaun Watson will find himself in Denver?
I mean, it's one of the places that he said that he wouldn't mind going already. He has mentioned that publicly, at least, I mean, not him directly, but sources have linked him to Denver already. I mean, the NFL is kind of changing, man. I know that the wide receivers are the divas, and they've been the ones lately forcing themselves out. But I don't see it happening, bro. I don't see. I think that the Broncos have a better shot at Rodgers than they do at Watson. Put it to you that way.
Yeah, and the whole thing with me with Watson is we still don't know what his legal situation is like.
Exactly.
We don't know what's going on with those cases. It sounds like it's not going to be criminal, but you still have to get through the NFL's judicial process.
The league will suspend him a couple. I know that you had previously, predicted that he might be on the commissioner's exempt list. I think he might still be on that, maybe 4 or 6 games. I don't think that he will miss the whole season, though. Yeah. It's been kind of quiet on that front.
And, Deshaun Watson, he's one of those guys that he can completely turn the tide or change the tide or the direction of your franchise.
They have the weapons there, too.
Before this whole thing came out, people were calling Deshaun Watson a top 3 to 5 quarterback in this league based on his play. I know it wasn't pretty with the Texans this past year, but he was the lone bright spot, a lot of times pulling shit out of his ass, making a lot of plays on his own. And that's the guy that you want to go out and get if you're the Broncos. And the Broncos just seem to be one of those franchises to me that they don't know how to draft a quarterback. Let's just put it
John
that way.
Elway doesn't know how.
They don't know how to draft a quarterback. So, they came up on Peyton Manning a couple of years ago, and they tried doing it again with Joe Flacco, although I think that was more of a bridge thing. But if Deshaun Watson goes to the Broncos and he gets through his suspension or whatever happens with that legal situation, the Broncos become players because he's just that type of player.
For sure. And they have the receivers there, too. I mean, they have Jerry Jeudy. Don't they have Gordon in the backfield as well?
Melvin Gordon and then
Noah Fant at tight end, Cortland Sutton. They've got weapons. They do have weapons. But like I said, I don't know. Based on his legal situation, there's another quarterback that's kind of disgruntled. And I think that maybe I just think that the Broncos have a better shot at landing him than Deshaun.
Yeah, and for the Broncos, I think they got to make a move, man, because this
is their move for sure.
It's either Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater for them coming up this year. And I love Teddy Bridgewater, but that's not a good position to be in if you're thinking about trying to contend, especially in the AFC West. And we all know that division's just getting better and better, especially with Herbert coming along. You got to think the Chargers are above the Broncos right now, and probably take the Raiders over the Broncos right now too. So they're not looking too good right now. So definitely need to make a move at quarterback. And we're going to stick with the quarterbacks here, and this will probably wrap up our brief NFL section for the start of the podcast. And we're going to talk about Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, for guys listening, you've probably heard it almost every single day this offseason from all the talk shows. I'm almost getting tired of it myself, but I just wanted to bring it up a little bit because the Packers did come out and say that Jordan Love does look like he would be ready to be their week 1 starter if needed. Jordan Love also came out and said that he's going to be ready. The team has been hyping him up. I've seen a lot of the beat reporters for the Packers talking about different plays that Jordan Love had been involved in. A couple of deep passes gone for touchdowns at minicamp, but you know how it is. They're trying to hype up their guy. The Packers ownership came out and said that the Aaron Rodgers saga has split the fan base, and that they can see that with the emails that they're getting in from the respective fan bases. And the Green Bay Packers, their fan base is a little bit different than everybody else's, just because most of those fans have part ownership with the way that thing works. And Green Bay is such a small little town. Like they're really, I think, in my opinion, a fan base that would side with the organization in this. As crazy as it sounds, I think they're one of those fan bases that are like, if you don't want to be here, then get out of here. So what do you think of do you trust Jordan Love being your day 1 starter if you're the Packers, or are you still trying to mend things with Aaron Rodgers and getting him back on the field?
Well, I'm not okay with Love being my starter just yet, because that wasn't the plan. You know what I mean? The plan wasn't the Packers' plan. That wasn't the plan until Aaron Rodgers got disgruntled and threw a wrench into their plan. You know what I mean? So, but I also think stuff's over with Aaron Rodgers. Like, I mean, I think that we're past trying to mend it. The dude's publicly, I mean, even on SportsCenter kind of said, I'm done there. Kenny Mayne's last episode, he got an interview with Aaron Rodgers, and he was kind of pushing it, trying to get the most out of him, but he kind of just said, my time in Green Bay is done. We've already seen that he's not reporting to these mini camps. I know that they're not mandatory. They're kind of more rookie and younger guys, but there are teams that have had a lot of their veterans at these camps. So he's not showing up. They said they don't expect him to show up later on this summer. They're going to have to trade the guy, and they're going to have to be okay with Jordan Love now. The good thing is that it's not being dragged along. Like Jordan Love's getting all the reps this summer. That's the good thing for the Packers. So, I mean, they'll be able to see a lot of progress in him throughout the summer. You know what I mean? What do you think that the play calling is going to change? Obviously, you know what I mean. Like it's not going to be the same as Aaron Rodgers behind center.
A lot more Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. A lot more play action. Trying to protect Jordan Love. I agree with everything that you said, other than the Packers having to trade Aaron Rodgers. The Packers don't have to do jack shit. The Packers can just sit on it. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play, you're going to get fined.
But now I ask you that, will he play? He won't. He won't, bro.
I don't think he will. I think if push came to shove and the Packers didn't want to trade him or release him from his contract, I think he would sit the year out. I think Aaron Rodgers is that petty. And, I'm not on anybody's side here because I'm not a fan of either Aaron Rodgers. I'm a Cowboys fan. I hate Aaron Rodgers, right? But and I'm not a fan of the Packers, so I really don't care what happens here. But the leverage is with the Packers, unfortunately, for Aaron Rodgers if he wants to play football this year, because they don't have, like, how the Rockets were saying, and it's a different situation, but they were saying
that just compare it to the Texans and Deshaun Watson, because it's the same situation. Watson just signed a 5-year deal last year.
That's true. So, and it's the same thing. The organizations can sit on it if they want. And I think that's what's going to end up happening with this case. Because, I mean, you don't want to trade away Aaron Rodgers for who knows what you're going to get back and then go and see Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl with another team. That's like the worst possible thing. And that's like a quick way to get yourself fired as a general manager, in my opinion. It's just a tough situation all around for both parties. I think the Packers are going to end up winning out in this situation, either getting Aaron Rodgers to come back or just sitting on it, because they don't have to do anything as it stands right now.
They don't win out if he sits out. They don't win if he sits out. They lose.
I guess it's a lose-lose for everybody then. At this point, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, because I mean he's probably, I don't know if he's still in Hawaii right now. He's not there at minicamp.
He's getting ready for the match.
Well, oh, that's right. Is he competing in that?
He's Bryson DeChambeau's partner.
Shoot, there you go. Man, Aaron Rodgers, he just won MVP last year. It's crazy that we're even having this discussion for an MVP, but he said it too. He's like, hey, they thought that I only had 1 or 2 years left, and I've come out and shown that I have 3 or 4 left. And I believe Aaron Rodgers. I think he's in great shape. He just won MVP last year. You put him on one of these contenders, and they're going to win a Super Bowl or be right there. But it's just a shame because the Packers, they find themselves in the same situation almost like 15, 20 years later as they were with Brett Favre. Brett Favre not wanting to come, they end up drafting Aaron Rodgers, and that becomes a whole debacle.
I can also kind of understand they had 2 decades of Hall of Fame first ballot quarterbacks, and they got 1 Super Bowl from each guy. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if you get Aaron Rodgers that help, you're never in this situation. You've had every opportunity. That's why you can't feel bad, and you can understand where Rodgers is coming from. Like, bro, all I have is Devontae Adams and, these rookie running backs that you're giving me, and here I am winning MVP. Like, yo, imagine if you went and drafted CeeDee Lamb the way the Cowboys did, even though they were already good at receiver. Like, you gotta help your guy out, not just chill because he's that caliber of player to where he's gonna make everybody better. Shit, you see the Bucks bringing in anybody they can for Brady. Who gives a fuck if he's the GOAT? We're gonna get you all the weapons, Brady, all the weapons.
That's almost lazy on the Packers' part. You just let 12 go out there and sling it. That seems to have been their strategy.
That was the game plan, Roland. That was it.
And then they want to, go out and say, oh, shoot, like, Aaron Rodgers freestyles too much or this and that. Because I've heard that stuff too. But,
so did Peyton Manning, bro. The greats do it. The greats do it.
Man, but Aaron Rodgers, I hope he ends up playing. He's too good of a player to be on the sidelines. Number 12, He's a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. And it's a shame that it's going this way. It's a shame.
What do you think that the Packers' plans were when drafting Jordan Love? How many years did you think that they like? What do you think that they intended as far as his timeline of being their starter? Because you draft the guy in the first round. I mean, you expect him to be a starter maybe 2 years.
2 years. The Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers plan. Sit him with the clipboard for a full year. And then maybe see what he can do that next year, see if he's worth being the starter that following year. But yeah, within 1 to 2 years, he would have been the starter by the Packers drafting him that high. I mean, you don't spend a first-round pick in the NFL on a guy that you're going to bench for 3 years, right? So that's why Aaron Rodgers comes out and says, shoot, I threw a wrench in their plans by winning MVP. Because they didn't think I was going to do that. And how bad does it look to get rid of the guy who just won MVP? For a guy who has 0 snaps, is pretty much drafted on potential because he did not have that great of a season coming out of Utah State. People were drafting him on what he did the year prior and just his base potential. 6'4", 6'5" quarterback, can run and throw the ball.
Prototype.
Yeah, looks pretty throwing the ball. But speaking of Jordan Love, though, I don't want to say I feel bad for him, but he's caught in a peculiar situation. He's just the guy that got drafted, right? Like they selected him and put.
That was the best night of his life, Roland. It was the best night of his life. It was the worst night of Aaron Rodgers' life. That's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm. So I hope Jordan Love ends up being a good quarterback for his sake.
Do the Packers regret it? Do the Packers regret drafting Jordan Love?
Oh, yeah, because look at all this mess that's happening. We're talking about the Packers every single day on Sports Talk. I listen to sports talk radio almost every day, and almost every single day since this shit's happened, I've heard about Aaron Rodgers, and I turn it off now. I'm just like, gosh, dang it. Like, I don't want to hear it anymore. And I'm sad that, we have to talk about it here because we haven't potted in the past week or two. So we got to, update everybody with what's going on. But I hope the next time that we talk about this, there's a solution already, whether Aaron Rodgers comes back and he's going to be the starter for the Green Bay Packers, or the Green Bay Packers say, hey, Aaron Rodgers, go do your thing somewhere else. Because
so then let's give our final prediction on how we think that this situation is going to play out. You think that the Packers are going to win out, and
I think we've agreed it's a lose-lose, but I think the Packers are going to stand firm and be like, we're not trading you. You're under contract. And Aaron Rodgers is going to end up sitting out the year.
I think that they end up trading him. I'm going to say that he ends up with the Broncos. I'm not sure what the package is going to look like. It's going to have to be a couple years of picks because the Broncos really don't have much to give up. What are they going to send back? Teddy Bridgewater maybe to help the kid out, be the vet for the young QB.
Or send him Drew Lock.
No, you're not going to send him Drew Lock. They'd send him Teddy Bridge at least to hold the clipboard and pump the kid up. But I do think that he will be traded, or I don't want to be wishy-washy, but like you said, the Packers will hold firm, but if the Packers do hold firm, I think Rodgers as well holds firm. I really don't see him playing. He's later in his career. He has nothing to prove. He just came off MVP. He's won a title, and he's a petty dude, bro. He's a petty dude. We've seen this guy with restraining orders on his own family, NDAs on his own family. So he can hold a grudge. He can hold a fucking grudge.
Yep. And that's pretty much gonna wrap up the NFL. I do want to, introduce our, NFL previews last year when we started the podcast. It was around this time and we really didn't have much else to talk about. So we jumped right into doing, NFL previews. It's around that time of the year coming up with the mandatory mini camps underway and whatnot. So I'm thinking this year we'll probably start in a couple of weeks and we'll probably just break down the teams by division and just knock out a division of podcasts probably. So we brought on a lot of guests last summer to talk about your respective teams. We're going to be doing that this year. So you guys, if you want to start the podcast off with a particular division or team, go out and shoot us some comments or some messages, and we'll go ahead and
even if you want to come on when we talk about that division and maybe give your piece on your team when we talk about that division. I know, like you said, last year we had several people join us when we spoke about their teams, and to get actual perspective from a fan who knows the ins and outs, not like us.
We got to get Mondo back on here to talk about the Broncos. I know we were talking about them, but he had
and
me
bring
go
a
out there and say
prediction this time, Mondo.
Yeah,
Don't bring that bullshit on this platform, fam.
Yeah,
right?
he gave me his prediction. I went out and gave his spiel, but he predicted
made you
11
sound
and
wild.
5.
He made you sound wild, Roland, and you just went and read it. It's like when fucking Will Ferrell's sitting at the behind the desk in Anchorman, and they put up all that bullshit, and he still reads it. Mondo did that to you, and you still went and read it out.
I still did. It made me look crazy. Mondo look crazy for doing it, but he's gonna have to come up here and defend his takes for last season and for this upcoming season.
I think that when we do the divisions, we should also come to a consensus play per division. Whether it be division winner, maybe a win total for that division, but we should track something throughout the season with the podcast.
I like that.
We'll pin it, and I think that's a good idea.
That's a great idea, especially we've already talked about the Titans potentially taking the AFC South. That's one we'll be looking out for. And, win totals, they are, win totals are going to be a little bit different this year because there's one extra game. So that's something else that you have to factor in. So, looking forward to that, guys. The NFL stuff is always fun. The NFL is a gift that keeps on giving. It's a 24/7, 365. But we got some other things to get to. We're going to run through MLB real quick. This is funny for me because we talked about it a little bit last year, kind of off the air, about the MLB juicing the balls. Last year, there's a bunch of talk, a bunch of pitchers complaining about the balls being juiced. There being way too many home runs out there. Chicks dig the long ball. Fans dig the long ball. Everybody likes to see the home runs. And there were plenty of them last year. And I think they broke the record for home runs in a season last year. I know there were a couple of months where they broke the monthly record for home runs last year. But now we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing the MLB
no-hitters every other week.
Messing with the ball. We got a couple no-hitters already. There were 2 or 3 no-hitters in 1 week, I want to say, or something
John
like
Means threw a no-hitter, fam. Like, that's how wild
That's crazy. So now you have guys like Pete Alonso saying that the MLB is messing with the balls based on the I don't want to butcher his quote, but he says the biggest concern is the MLB manipulating the baseball year in and year out, depending on the free agency class, or guys being in an advanced part of arbitration. I do believe that the MLB messes with the balls. I do think it's an ongoing experiment, but I don't think it has anything to do with the respective free agency classes.
That sounds like the chick talking about, look at this key, it sticks to my forehead. Shut up, Pete Alonso. Hey, Roland, we heard the same thing from the pitchers last year when the ball was flying out of the fucking ballpark into McCovey Cove or whatever it's called over there in San Fran.
McCovey Cove.
Yeah, like Verlander was, talking about the balls are juiced. The balls are juiced. All the pitchers were. This year we're seeing a bunch of no-hitters, and now it's the hitters bitching that the balls are fixed. Like, I mean, come on, guys. I do agree that there's been a lot of no-hitters recently, but I don't see what they could be doing to the ball to, like, produce more.
The ball is dying. The ball's dying at the warning tracks a lot.
Well, so is there just a switch?
Dude, I don't know the physics.
The ball's always died at the warning track, though, Roland. We've always seen those guys with their backs to the wall, and we're like, yo, how did that not go out? Like, a little bit more, and it's out of there. Shit always happens. It ain't like the HEB cards where now they put the line around the parking lot, and as soon as the cart gets there, boom, it's stuck. No, they're not doing that with the baseballs, man.
Dude, they're doing something, though. I think we can agree on that. They're doing something.
We can't agree on that.
Dang, I mean,
can't agree on that. I'm not going conspiracy theory into baseball.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying to believe what Pete Alonso is saying about the whole. They're doing it based on the free agency classes and who's coming out and who's in arbitration and who's not. I do believe they're tinkering with the ball, man. We saw the home run shoot up last year, like ridiculous, and now we're seeing the flip side of that. The MLB reacted.
We didn't even get as many home runs as the steroid era, though, did we?
They broke the record. It was they had the all-time high last year for home runs.
Well, but like by one player or no? Like, did somebody beat Barry Bonds?
The MLB in general hit.
Oh, in total,
hit more home runs than there's ever been in an MLB season last year. So that's where you got all of the pitchers complaining about the juiced ball and all of that. But let's stick with the pitchers here. Let's move on from this a little bit. Now we watch a lot of baseball. We see, the pitchers who are, messing with the cap, and after every pitch they're messing with their cap, and they're like, oh, it's just, I do it for juju. I'm superstitious. And then you go and see, you're looking closer and you're like, what the hell is on that guy, on the brim of that guy's cap? There's something dark there. And you always see, hey, what's this foreign substance that they're using? Why are they getting so much spin on the ball? So now the MLB is going to be cracking down on the foreign substances that pitchers are using. And this got spurred. I'm going to read off this article real quick here, is that the spin rate is, how fast the ball is spinning on the way to the batter's box.
It's harder to tell what type of pitch it is based on the spin rate.
And so the guy who kind of started talking about this, and I don't like bringing him up too much, is Trevor Bauer. He said that he noticed his spin rate was going crazy.
Something to say.
But he was like, no, I'm not doing anything. I use this crazy pitching machine in the off season that helped me with my spin rate. So I shouldn't, be involved in this. But, this is a thing that has been going on since the 20s, since baseball started. Do you have a problem with pitchers using foreign substances, or what do you think about this?
Baseball is the definition of, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, because everybody's cheating. It just comes down to who gets caught, whether it's sign stealing, whether it's foreign substances, whether it's corked bats. I mean, we've seen it all. We've seen it all. I did see a pitcher get ejected before he even threw a pitch the other day, because based off of foreign substance that he had. So they are cracking down on it. Man, with baseball, bro, I mean, it's such a slow game. Let these dudes juice up. Let them use all the foreign substances they want, and give us the show, man. Like, home runs are king. We want to see home runs. We want to see hits. We want to see high-scoring games. So I don't care. I don't care about the rules of baseball. I don't care about any of that shit.
You just want high-scoring affairs.
That's what I want. I love the 10th inning now. A runner starts on second base.
That's
I love
dope.
that.
I like that.
I love it.
So I don't really have a problem with the foreign substances, just like I don't really have a problem with the steroids either. I'm right on the same page as you. I just want whatever is going to make the best product out there. And I do think a lot of this too is because I just read off the article right now, the MLB, the hitters are on pace for their lowest batting average in MLB history. So of course there's going to be a lot of people complaining. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people complaining about their numbers down. But real quick before we end the MLB, I don't think we've introduced it because this is one of the first times we've gone in depth on the MLB here, but we all are Houston Astros fans on this podcast.
Oh.
So going to dedicate a little bit of time to the Astros here at the end of this MLB section. They're in the middle of a 3-game series, or I don't know if it's a 3 or 4-game series with the Red Sox. They got that heated rivalry. Alex Cora was talking about the Astros fans, or the Red Sox fans booing the Astros, and how he thought about that because he was involved in both situations, the Astros and the Red Sox situation. From what you've seen with the Astros this year, do you think that they're true contenders in the AL this year?
Hands down. I was actually having this conversation with my brother, not about contenders, but about what the Astros need to add. Right now, we're in the wild card. The A's are still ahead in the division, but I mean, we're right on their heels. But I was telling him that I actually like all the young pitching that the Astros have. I love all those guys, man. They've been holding it down. Framber pitched 7+ innings twice in the last 2 weeks against the Red Sox and held them to 1 run both times. Right after coming back, we got Urquidy, we got McCullers. Greinke has a 5-game stretch of just balling. I know that he's on the mound tonight. It was 1-1 last that I saw. And we started the pod, but the bats are on fire, bro. The pitchers, we have a stable of starting pitchers. No, we don't have a certain 5, but I think that there's about 6 or 7 guys that Dusty Baker can go and choose from for the big games. I mean, and we've seen Astros pitchers like Jose Urquidy pitch in big games, last year in the playoffs. Now they have Valdez, they have Garcia. So I think that the Astros need a reliever. I think that's the biggest thing. They need like a dominant reliever, like a guy who every time that he comes in, he's going to give you 2 scoreless innings, and he's going to be throwing some nasty shit. Type of relievers that the Indians have had for a couple of years.
And we've seen the Astros in the past have bullpen problems, and that seems to be their problem this year. When was this article written? It was actually today. As of today, the Astros bullpen has 10 blown saves and a 4.24 ERA, which is good for 18th in the MLB right now. So I agree. I think the bullpen is kind of where the Astros need to look to kind of solidify themselves. But man, their bats are banging.
Fire.
And no trash cans involved, guys.
And no baseballs. Yeah. And they ain't bitching about baseballs either. They're just clobbering them. They're just clobbering the baseball.
So, yeah, I like the Astros to be players in the AL this year. I don't know if they're going to end up taking the division from the A's, but I do like them once they get into the playoffs, man. Because that lineup is still murderer's row,
sure.
as far as I'm concerned. So,
do you think that Greinke's a number 1, Roland? We'll end it on that. Do you think that Greinke is an ace for a World Series team? That was Leo's biggest thing. That's why he said we needed a real ace. But I like the stable, and I can see where he's coming from because Greinke hasn't been the best in the playoffs.
I side with Leo on this one. I don't think you want him to be your number 1 guy. I think he's still good enough to be a number 2, maybe 3. But he's for sure going to be starting off one of those games, one of those first 2 or 3 games in a playoff series. The big one for me is I want to see what's up with Justin Verlander and kind of where he's at with his Tommy John surgery.
Back this year, though.
Yeah, he did say he intends to pitch a long time, so maybe the Astros get him back after this season. But yeah, I agree. They need to go out and get a pitcher. I don't know if it's a starter. I kind of agree with you in a sense that the Astros can get by.
I'm not saying that. I agree with Leo in the fact that Greinke is not that. He's not Garrett Cole. He's not Max Scherzer.
No.
He's not that. But I like the stable that the Astros have. I think that, like I said, 6 or 7 guys who can go out there and pitch into the 6th or 7th inning of playoff games. But I agree, Greinke isn't, locked down for. Usually, when you throw that ace out, it's a win. Most of the time, you're expecting the win. With Greinke, I can understand the uncertainty, but I like the group collectively, is what I'll say.
And I'm going to end it on this note, kind of along the same lines as Carlos Correa did last year or the year before in the offseason when the whole trash can thing came out. I know it's not going to stop, but it's ridiculous now, man. Like, they're not using trash cans. I just saw an interview the other day about Jose Altuve. It came out that he was one of the guys that used it the least. He didn't want it at some points. And now he's, kind of stained going forward because he was a part of this whole controversy. But kind of like how you opened up the MLB thing when we were talking about the foreign substances. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And it's come out. And I'm not justifying anything that they did because it was egregious and they took it overboard. But man, they were the ones that got caught.
Everybody's doing it somehow in a different way. Everybody's doing it. And like you said, you're not agreeing with it because they kind of did go over the top for sure. For sure. But everybody's cheating, bro. Everybody's doing it.
And that's just baseball, man. That's stealing signs and all that stuff has been. I remember being in Little League and coaches telling me to look out for the signs that they were throwing out for
from second.
Exactly. I mean, it's been taught from the beginning of time. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it on that note. And we will talk more baseball as the NBA playoffs wind down. And we have more time to talk about it. But I just wanted to bring in the MLB because we have seen at least 55 games or 50-some games go by, or 60 games, excuse me. So I thought it was a good point to bring it up. But that wraps up the MLB. And like I said, we got the NBA playoffs to talk about. So we're about to hop into that right now. And I believe we do have a special guest with us. He's usually our Spurs correspondent, and the Spurs aren't in the playoffs this year, unfortunately. But we do have Jobe with us. So that's going to come right now. As I was talking earlier, we got NBA coming on. We got the NBA playoffs. I think we got the Bucks and the Nets playing right now. But without further ado, let me introduce our guest for the podcast. We got Jobe here. As I said, he was our Spurs correspondent, but we got him here talking playoffs. What's up, Jobe?
What it do?
This is like
man?
This is like when the jump brings Brian Windhorst on. This is the equivalent right here.
We can give him at least Jalen Rose or something, man.
I almost thought about saying Big Perk, but nah, Jobe don't got
don't
shit on
disrespect
Big
me
Perk.
like that, Pap.
Jobe don't got shit on Big Perk. What's up, Jobes?
I know Big Perk has all the hot takes on Twitter, but
hey, carry on. Hey, Jobes, carry on, brother. Tell us about you, brother. Just carry on.
Have you enjoyed the playoffs so far, Joby? Anything stands out to you before we jump into it?
Stands out. Not really.
Biggest takeaway, Jobe. Biggest takeaway.
LA going down early, I guess, was a little surprising, but like you could kind of see that written on the wall. The rest, AD was never really right. Bron was, so I did expect them to beat the Suns. I had them beating the Suns, but I guess that's the only surprise.
And you're a Jordan guy, right? If I understand that correctly, you're a Jordan guy. So was LeBron even in the conversation before this season for you?
Yeah, I said it at the end of last year. If you want to say like Bron's the greatest to you, all right, fine. Like I won't argue with you. It's okay. I think at this point it's a matter of preference, but the correct answer is Jordan.
The accolades are there for them both.
So before we jump into the guys that are still in the playoffs, that loss, is it a shink, or do you take anything away from it for LeBron, or you just look past it and chalk it up to injury?
I'm not gonna hold it against them. Like they had the short off season, and
70 days.
Yeah. So, and he's
they had a real fucking season this time around, Joby. They had a real season. They weren't posted up at Disney World, okay?
They weren't posted up at Disney World.
Yeah.
I'm not holding it against him.
Fair enough. Well, what I'm going to do here is just talk about the series that are going on, and I'm going to let you guys pick which series we jump into. So I'm going to introduce the series, the line for the upcoming game, and the series line, the favorite to win the series. So without further ado, Ben, were you going to say something before I get into it?
Let's get into the Hawks and Sixers. I was going to pick which one we get into. I think that one's 1-1 right now. So
let's do Hawks and Sixers first. All right, we got the Sixers and the Hawks are tied at 1-1. They're heading to Atlanta. They split up in Philly. The Sixers, the last time that I checked, were about 1-point favorites for that game in Atlanta, that game 3. And they're minus 210 to win the series. Embiid has been able to do whatever he wants. With the Hawks, there's no answer for that man. I saw Colin Cowherd ranked him as the 10th best player in the playoffs. I know that's primarily for trolling.
Philly's favored.
Yeah, but he's a monster. Yeah, I said Philly's the favorite for 1 point.
Philly by 1?
Philly by 1.5.
Embiid is a beast. He was top 3 for the MVP, and rightfully so. Joby, you're the guest here, so I'm going to let you go. Who do you like to win game 3? And do you think that a Sixers minus 210 to win the series is a little too steep for them being 1-1, having just split in Philly?
And going to Atlanta.
No, that sounds reasonable to me. It just depends on Embiid. I myself, I've dealt with torn meniscus.
As long as it's not the ACL, right?
No. Hell no. It depends on this. It depends on the severity.
Drake played 48 minutes on a torn meniscus, no sub. And you're here fucking saying no. You're here saying no. Jobes, the meniscus is the least ligament you need, Jobes. All right?
I'm not saying you need it.
Well, then what's the problem?
I just said it's painful.
Diaz in the house.
It's painful.
He's
never had a torn meniscus.
Yeah, but Embiid's putting up 39 and 12 with a torn meniscus, so that shit can't be that bad.
Okay, wait. Well, NBA trainers have fucking things called shots that mask the pain. All right, bro?
Fair, I guess.
Anyways, as somebody who knows what a fucking torn meniscus feels like, that's not easy to play with unless you have a shot. All right, and even then, it's not a good idea to do that. So, if he's gonna continue playing, he's gonna really put his career in jeopardy, his long-term career in jeopardy, unless it's like a very, very minimal tear. But playing, if you don't have a shot on it, playing with a torn meniscus is painful. It hurts. It hurts
So
every
does
time you run. It hurts every time you cut. It sucks.
I mean, he's balling. Do you think that he makes it through the series?
I do, just because the Hawks really don't have anybody to guard him. Like, Capella's a pretty good defender, but like one-on-one,
He's too small. He's
just not big enough. He's just not big enough to deal with Embiid. So, I mean, I think they'll close him out. It'll probably end up just because of his knee, and if something serious happens, like, I mean, you never know. But if he's playing, then the doctors must feel like it's at least something he can play on and just deal with the pain.
40 points too.
Yeah. So
just playing.
Do you all think?
I think the Sixers finish it in 6.
Okay.
I like that.
But I mean, it depends.
Do you think that because of his history with injuries and having to miss so much time and maybe key times, like this has to be? It was kind of like AD getting street clothes, where he pretty much had no fucking choice but to suit up for Game 6, even if he was going to blow his shit out. You know what I mean? Do you think that Embiid has to play? Because let's be real, without Embiid, the Sixers will lose to the Hawks.
Without Embiid, they'd lose. They would lose.
It would play out exactly the way the Suns and Lakers series played out. I mean, the Hawks would just dominate them, I think, if Embiid wasn't playing. So do you think that has anything to do with it or no? The fact that he has missed because of injury?
But he doesn't, like, he's not like AD in the sense that, like, he misses time during the playoffs. Like, AD, that's happened to him a bunch. You know, I think, and, like, he's always missed, like, significant chunks during the regular season. Embiid had, like, his first 3 years, whatever, and then, like, he misses a couple games here and there ever since. But, like, in the playoffs, he's there. They just don't get it done.
I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit of that, Ben. Maybe not the whole story, but it's also this, like we've called before throughout the season. This is their last hurrah with this group, right? The Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid thing. I would think a lot of people have talked about that not being the most successful combination.
Ben Simmons isn't a free agent this summer, is he?
No, but they'll deal him if it doesn't work out this year. Like, we heard a lot of rumors in the Harden, and they didn't end up pulling the trigger.
I think this is the last hurrah.
This is the last one.
How bad does Daryl Morey regret that now?
The Sixers ended up with the 1 seed and Harden's hurt, so I don't know if he regrets it too much right now.
Yeah. And I like the
if Embiid goes down, he's gonna really fucking regret it.
Well,
we'll see. I hope he doesn't get injured, because I like the way that he's playing right now, and I like the adjustment that the Sixers made. You know, we talk about, or it's been talked about all year, Ben Simmons, potential defensive player of the year. We did not see him match up on Trae Young at all in Game 1, and Trae Young had his way. He went for 35 and 10, and I think that's the key in this series, is slowing down Trae Young. He's the motor that keeps the Hawks going in this one, and we saw Simmons on Trae Young in Game 2. Do you think that continues in Game 3,
sure.
Ben? Do you like that matchup, you guys?
I don't know why he wasn't guarding in Game 1. Who was it, Danny Green?
They were doing Danny Green and Tybal, but that
Game
was
1's a feeler. It's always a feeler. Game 1, you kind of feel it out and, like, see if your vanilla game plan shit's gonna work or not.
Yeah.
Especially Doc. Doc doesn't try anything crazy in Game 1.
Well, I expect Simmons to be on him for the rest of the series, especially after getting robbed of that defensive player of the year that we'll get into later. But I think that Simmons has to take that matchup personally. And I mean, if they took Trae Young out of the Game 2,
he'll lock him up. You
think so as well? You think he'll lock him up?
He's too long. He's too big for Trae Young.
So, like, what, Trae ends up averaging, like, what, 18, 20?
Yeah, he's going to be right there the rest of the series.
He'll be under 20. He'll be under 20.
Yeah. You know, his props are up at around 25, 26, 25 and a half.
Smash that under, bro.
That's the key for the Sixers. I think if you put Simmons on Trae Young, the series is pretty easy for you.
And they have to do that, man, because I saw so many Instagram posts this year talking about Ben Simmons guarding 1 through 5. I want to see him guard 1 through 5, and Trae Young is their one. He's not only their point guard, but he's their best player. So Ben Simmons, I know you got quote unquote robbed for defensive player of the year, and we'll get into that later, but this is your chance to prove your worth, because you're not going to be doing it scoring the rock. So what do you, before we move any further, what do you guys think about the hack of Simmons?
It's real. That shit is real, and it's in his head. Fam, he doesn't want to touch the ball. We saw Doc bench him in Game 2. down the stretch, and they were up like 8 with like 250 left, and he said, "Nah, I'm gonna have to pull you out." I think that fucks with him too. You know what I mean? Having to be subbed, it's fine keeping you in there and having the confidence, and fuck it, you still miss them, but we have the confidence in you. Once they pull you out, it's got to fuck with you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that was him, his shooting along with Embiid's health or just, conditioning. That was the real reason why I just could not. I had to go with Nets to win the East because those two things, it's just too much. And
12.
Yeah, like his shooting is bad. And in the playoffs, like you have more than one guy who can't shoot. That's
a problem.
That's a problem. If they're on the floor, if more than one guy who can't shoot is on the floor with you, the floor shrinks, and that's it. You're gonna get figured out. You're not gonna score.
Do the Sixers have more than one guy though? I think Simmons is the only one.
Simmons, Tybal, they're on the floor together. Like it's not. I promise you.
But the starting lineup is Simmons, Curry, Danny Green, Joel Embiid, and Harris. I mean, Simmons is the only non-shooter there.
Yeah, you give props to Daryl Morey because he figured, he knows that the Seth Curry move was good, the Danny Green move was good. So
Seth Curry, there you go.
Seth Curry, huge.
Yeah. So,
another guy.
There's going to be times where they're going to need, especially against the Nets, they're going to have Tybal and Danny Green on the floor and Simmons on the floor, and it's just not going to work.
I feel you.
No spacing there, but
at all.
Before we move on from the Sixers, I do want to shout out Shake Milton first for his name. I love the name Shake Milton, and he came up and stepped up in this last game. He had 14 points in 14 minutes in game 2. So
I like Shake.
He caught a lot of flack last year in the playoffs. From Embiid,
role players are good for one game in a playoff series. They'll get you one game.
You need that.
Yeah, they get you one. So I don't think they get swept by the Nets, especially if Embiid's healthy. But
so final predictions.
Final
predictions for this series: Sixers and 6. Jobe, you got Sixers and 6. I'm gonna fall in line, and I'm gonna say Sixers and 6 too. So Jobe, you're the guest. I'll let you choose the next series that we go over. Ben chose the Sixers and Hawks. Which of these 3 series do you want to talk about next?
Well, I don't want to talk about the Nets in Milwaukee because Milwaukee just fucked me. So,
all right. So then let's do. I'll choose for you. Let's do Clippers and Jazz. That's the other game tonight. We saw the Clippers blow a lead in game 1 to the Jazz at home. They were up pretty big in the first half. The Jazz ended up coming back and winning by 3. Anybody who took the line earlier in the day when it was at 4, maybe 3.5, you ended up cashing out. I had a buddy take the money line for the Clippers. That ended up backfiring on them. But just to dress it up a little bit, it is Jazz 1-0 still in Utah, and they are 3-point favorites. The last time that I checked, they were actually 2.5-point favorites. It went down.
With Conley being ruled out.
And they are minus 185 to win the series right now. So Jobe, you're our guest. I'll let you take this one. What did you like from the Jazz in that first game, or is there anything that stuck out to you?
Well, I mean, Donovan Mitchell just he pretty much did it all on the offensive end himself. I don't think anybody else had. I think I saw the next highest volume in shooting was 12 shots, I think, or something like that. He took 30. So he got it done for them offensively. And I saw something else too. I think Bron, KD, and Donovan Mitchell are the first guys to have. I think it was I want to say it was 600 points in their first 10 playoff games or something like that.
Damn.
It was only them 3. So I did not expect Donovan Mitchell to, especially. After that first round last year with him in Denver and him and Jamal Murray going back and forth, I didn't expect that. And then him doing this to the Clippers was in game 1 was because he's a smaller guy.
Is it more of an indictment on the Clippers?
I don't buy PG's and Kawhi's defensive ability anymore. I just don't. Luka torched them.
You said game 1 was a feeler, pal. Relax, okay? You said game, and they came off of game 7 as well. If anything,
Teams were
it was.
32 and
I
47.
mean, we saw
coming off
Luke
of game
Kennard closing the game. We saw Luke Kennard in crunch time minutes. So I think that
He didn't play at all in round 1. So
no, he did play in game 6 and 7, and he was actually pretty big in game 7 for them. But he played a lot of minutes in this game 1. I think Lou was feeling it out. I mean, they did fuck up and lose the lead, but I mean, the Jazz shot over 53s.
Dude, they were at 23 threes in the first quarter, I think, or something. Or first 2 quarters, they were like 24, 25 threes.
Nothing new there. But
yeah,
like
they shot the most threes this year.
My thing, like, Ty Lue, I'm not buying it. And
he was LeBron's water boy.
Are you buying Mitchell? Are you buying Mitchell averaging 35 plus in the series? Because that's what it's going to take for the Jazz.
Like, it'll come down.
But don't you think that's what it's going to take? Don't you think that's what it's going to take?
Well, with Conley out, maybe. But
so and we saw Shaq call out Mitchell earlier this year.
They spread the ball as good as anybody. Like, they move it around as good as anybody.
They move it around, but in the playoffs, you can't count on George Niang. And I picked the Jazz to be in the finals. But I did. Prior to it, I said Nets and Jazz when we made our predictions, coming into the playoffs. I felt that they had the easiest road and that they had one of the best built teams all around. I expected Mike Conley in there, obviously, but I mean, if Mitchell's going to play like that and go out of his mind, shit, I have the Clippers winning tonight. I'll tell you that. I don't the same way that the Mavs came out flaming from 3 in that series. I just don't see it. I don't see it keep going in game 2. I think that the Clippers come out and win today.
Yeah, I think the Clippers come out and win today also. I want to ask this question, though. Do you think, and this might be silly, but do you put any credence in Dwayne Wade being a help as kind of like a little owner coach?
That's not silly. I don't think that's silly. I think that's big.
You do.
I think it's huge. We've seen Mitchell go and stand next to the sideline right next to D Wade and have D Wade talk him up, this, and that. I mean, fam, he had 45.
I don't put a lot of stock into it. I mean,
no.
It's like having the vet at the end of the bench that the Jazz don't have.
It's not like D Wade's calling plays.
No, definitely not, Joes. But don't you see the same type of player in them?
Yeah, they're very similar. Their games are real similar.
Then partner, it's got to count for something.
I think it all comes down for me because, in my opinion, I think
you're like the fucking announcers back in the day, like when Larry Bird would get benched, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that guy just hit that bucket because of Larry Bench. The dude's not even on the floor." He's like, "Oh, because Larry told him he could do it." And
the coach isn't on the floor either, Jobes. Yeah, Popovich is the GOAT, right? And he's not on the floor either.
We're gonna compare the coach, the greatest coach of all time, who calls plays and make adjustments to a fucking
Dwayne Wade. Their play style, Dwayne Wade can tell him. He has all that experience, man. It's like the vet at the end of the bench, and we just said that they're identical in play style, pretty much.
I won't say it's a huge thing, but I do think it helps out Donovan Mitchell with his mindset. Having a guy like Dwayne Wade who's been there, done that, and it's like, hey, man, you can take Luke Kennard, take him every single time you see him on you. There's that clip that was coming out. But I do want to say, for me, it all comes down to Paul George, man, for the Clippers. Paul George has to give you a better performance than what he gave you in game 1. He went, what was it? This is his 10th career postseason game, shooting 25% or worse from the field. That's the third most by any player since 1954. I think he has a bounce back game tonight, and that's where it's at for me. Paul George has to play big for this team to win. You know what you're getting from Kawhi, but Paul George needs to bring his game.
For me, like, if they're gonna really move on and beat the Jazz, both of them, like, when they first got assembled last year before the pandemic hit, everybody, like, that's all they could talk about was like just like how crazy that lineup was defensively of Beverly and Kawhi and Paul George and Morris and fucking
Ibaka.
Yeah, and Ibaka. No, not Ibaka.
Zubac?
Like, just on the perimeter. Like, I think it was
the perimeter defenders.
Just on the perimeter, like, just how much. And you saw it a lot of times, like, or at least I did during the regular season. Like, at some point they would just decide that's it. Like, we're just gonna turn the other team over. And on the perimeter, like, there was nothing you could do. They just don't strike me as those guys anymore. Like, I don't know if the Denver series last year messed with their heads or what, but like to really lock a team up and just say like, no, bro, you're not going to score for 5 minutes. I don't see that anymore.
And do you think the Clippers stay small? They started off with the small ball.
They have to stay small, but that was the thing too. Like, you know, we talk about game one being feeler, and it is, but like here was
they showed them their small lineup.
Yeah, like I'm going small ball. Like
Morris went 1 for 9 from 3. Paul George played like shit. Like,
I think he has to stay with it. And sure, Paul George shot like crap. And, you know, only Kawhi
has to play. Kennard does have to play because offensively, I mean, he's one of their better 3-point shooters, man.
Yeah.
Like when the guy shoots it, they have a chance.
I think they have a chance if they stay small. But if they stay small,
you got to draw Gobert out of the paint.
Yeah, I don't worry about Gobert offensively either. But if they stay small,
I'm trying defensively. Yeah.
Like that means on the perimeter, you know, defense or like on the perimeter and denying penetration, they have to be just monsters. They cannot allow Donovan Mitchell to dribble, drive, and kick.
You don't think that we saw
the right play.
You don't think that we saw some of that in game 6 and 7 against the Mavs from the Clippers?
Yeah.
I agree. In game 6, I feel like the Mavs just kind of rushed shots. And then in game 7, you know, I mean, in game 7, the Clippers, I feel like the Clippers were just kind of hitting their shots and the Mavs just.
Morris was there. A lot of guys were hitting. Do we see Donovan Mitchell commanding a double team in this series?
Nah, man.
Maybe.
Paul George or Kawhi, they need to.
I'm going to say maybe.
They need to show what it is.
Just to get it out of his hands, Roland? Just to get it out of his hands and have
especially with Conley out.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't be shocked if they showed it tonight.
The Jazz, what I like about them, other than them just not being afraid to chunk the three, is they have arguably the highest basketball IQ on the court at all times. So if you double team them, you got him passing it to Bogdanovic, who knows what to do with the ball. You know, you got him passing to guys who know exactly what to do.
Ingles as well.
Ingles knows what to do with the ball. This is a high IQ team, and like I said, it's Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Like Jobe just said, when they got assembled, people were scared about this team locking people down. We got to see it. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they need to at least make the attempt.
They can't allow Donovan Mitchell to go off for 45.
I don't think he's going to go off again. He's not going off for another 45 on these guys.
Yeah, well, with no Conley tonight, he's going to have 30 again for the Jazz to have a chance. But I really do think that the Clippers win tonight. I do.
So that's your game 2 prediction, Jobe. What's your game 2 prediction?
Yeah, because Conley's out. If Conley was in, I would think I would still take the Jazz.
Okay, so we're all on.
It's too much lifting for Mitchell.
We're all on Clippers for game 2.
And what about for the series? Yeah, exactly.
I still got the Jazz.
I'm just gonna say this is how much I still believe in the Clippers. When they were down 0-2, I threw it out on Twitter, and I was like, I feel like this is worth. They were plus 220 to come back and win the series against the Mavs, and I was like, I feel like this is worth throwing some money on.
Oh, that's not very good odds, though. 220.
I know it wasn't. I thought it should have been more.
Hell yeah, you got to be plus
especially going to Dallas.
Exactly.
I thought it should be more, but nonetheless, I felt like it was worth throwing money on, and sure enough, so I think the Clippers take the series.
What about you, Ben?
Well, I want to stick with my original prediction of Jazz against Nets in the finals, so I don't want to pick against the Jazz. But Mike Conley hasn't played for 2 games already. If Mike Conley's not going to play, the Clippers are going to win the series.
Okay.
For 100%, if Mike Conley doesn't play, the Clippers will win the series. If Mike Conley does come back, I like them. And like I said, it's fucking wishy-washy. Like, I'm kind of taking both sides, but it's a big piece that's injured, man. Like, he initiates.
He can take some of the playmaking load off of Mitchell for stretches. Like Ingles, he can do it sometimes, but I feel like with Ingles, they might. I mean, even though he's a good shooter, they might just let him get into like the mid range because I think he's like a better 3-point shooter than he is like just off the bounce in the mid range. So I feel like they would just kind of let him like fill up on that. But Mike Conley, he can like he's quick enough. Ingles isn't quick enough to get to the rim. Mike Conley is. So
exactly. I'm gonna go with Jazz in 7. I'm
gonna say Clippers in 7. They're just a stupid team, so I'll say 7.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Jazz here. I'll go 7 games also. And I do want to say Ben did come out on the podcast and he took the Clippers when they were down 0-2 when Justin and I were against the Mavs. So I got to give you a shout out on that because we weren't here to talk about that last week. But I'm going to choose this next one. And I'm sorry, I'm going with my guy. You already know what I'm about to say, Ben. Going with the point guard.
Yeah, Chris Paul. Of course he's Chris Paul.
Jobe knew what I was going to go with. The point guard, the Suns find themselves up 2-0 on the injured Denver Nuggets. Have to throw that out there.
They're injured, but they got by the Blazers still.
Yeah, they're throwing out Campazzo and
I was
Austin
surprised
Rivers.
they got by the Blazers.
So the Suns are up 2-0. They find themselves as 1.5-point dogs the last time that I checked, going into Denver. And they are minus 910 to win the series. That's the steepest series odds right now. You can put this one in the bag. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a sweep. I'll maybe give the Jazz one.
I'll say the gentleman sweep.
So Ben, I'm going to start this with you because
respect for Joker.
Because you had the Jazz in your finals, right? From what you've seen from the Suns so far, do you think the Suns get out of the West?
My biggest takeaway of the playoffs has been DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, you've been in the chat talking about it.
This is the guy that was picked over Trae Young and over Luka Doncic. And he went up against AD.
Look at my face, man. Look at my face.
Yeah, I don't care about your face. DeAndre Ayton getting you 20 and 10 in the playoffs and it being his first playoffs, that's a number 1 pick, bro. You don't got to run plays for the guys. You don't got to run a play for him.
There's a reason they don't run plays for him. That's all I'm gonna say.
And he's going to get you 20 and 10. Gobert ain't doing that shit. Gobert ain't doing that.
And they don't run plays for Gobert either.
And he doesn't get 20 and 10. That's what makes Ayton that much better. And we've already heard Jokic say Ayton's the toughest guy that guards me. And it's showing. He's canceling the Joker out in this series. Let's give the guy some props, bro. What do you mean, no? Joker had 22 and 9 game 1. Ayton had 20 and 11. Game 2, Ayton had more points than Jokic. I mean, it's not even a series. Jokic isn't even being effective. We saw him putting up
24. Hey, wait.
And we saw him putting up 30 every night.
Because the Blazers can't guard a chair.
All right. Well, DeAndre Ayton can guard Jokic.
You can't guard him. 24. If I had 5 years ago, if I was like, hey, wait, Kawhi's locking down Bron, and then you'd look at Bron's stat line and be like, hey, Bron had 24, 13, and 6. You'd be
that was what he had. That was what he had always.
And that's what Jokic had last night.
Right. But that's the MVP of the league. That's
24,
the MVP.
13, and 6 is getting locked down.
That's the MVP.
Now you change your story. All right, bro.
And what was the final score?
See, guys, don't trust this guy.
Hey, and let's just put a little context here. The Suns do have a lot better defense than the Blazers. The Blazers have no resistance on defense. I think that's been proven time and time again.
You're the Ted Cruz of sports podcast, Pap.
My biggest takeaway from the series has been how deep the Phoenix Suns are. They have a multitude of guys that can get you buckets. We saw campaigns step up.
Their 8-man rotations.
Yeah,
I give James Jones a lot of props.
They had 6 players reach double figures. They had 12 players score at least 2 points. That's at least scoring the rock, but they have a lot of options on there. We just talked about them signing Torrey Craig. Campaign stepped up. The guy that I like, we talked about him in our group chat yesterday, was Michael Bridges, Mr. Villanova himself. That guy makes a lot of winning basketball plays.
Philly fucked up when they traded him on
Philly fucked up. Yes.
They have a lot of guys on there, just like I said with the Jazz.
Another Elton Brand special right there.
A lot of high IQ players on that team. And it's led by the point guard. He had his third. I'm going to shout him out. I'm giving him his flowers. He had his third playoff game with 15 assists and 0 turnovers. Who's the only other player that's done that? No one. It's Chris Paul, baby. It's Chris Paul, and he's going to get to the finals, and they're going to beat the Nets.
Shut up,
Let's go.
Roland.
Okay, maybe not that far.
Hey, Roland, this
Maybe
is
not
where you
that far.
slam your computer
Yeah.
shut, Roland.
Maybe not that far.
Ah.
But CP3 is getting to the finals this year. Mark my words. And I don't want to hear about him not playing in the postseason. He has good postseason
He's
stats
a fourth quarter
point guard.
killer, bro. The
He
fourth quarter
is a
comes
beast.
around. The fourth quarter comes around, and he's walking into threes.
Stop playing with his name.
We got to give Chris Paul his props, Jobes. I know you don't like the guy, but you got to give him
I'm
props.
not giving him any flowers
The Suns,
until he at least makes a finals.
0% chance. 0% chance the Suns are here without Chris Paul. He changed the Thunder around last year, and we saw it firsthand. And now he went and changed Phoenix into a fucking contender. They bounced the Lakers in the first round. If there's ever a time to give Chris Paul props, it's now.
I'm not giving him flowers.
It's now.
I'm not giving him flowers.
It's now. I don't agree that they're going to make the finals, but they will win this series.
I was misspoken. There are two other
if he
players.
Really wants and he doesn't even have to win a ring. If he gets to the finals, I'll give him some goddamn flowers. But he's got to get there first.
He's getting to the finals. You're going to be here for that podcast to give him the flowers because you just said it right now.
He's going to have to give Harden flowers that night and Chris Paul. Yo!
Why would I give Harden flowers?
Because he's going to be in the finals too, ho. That's why.
Yeah, because of KD.
Yo, Harden, baby.
Because of who, Pep? KD daddy, right?
Hey, fuck it. I'll say it. I don't care.
KD's daddy.
No more.
KD's daddy.
And I got a little excited. There are two other players that have done what Chris Paul have done once. Magic Johnson and Jason Kidd. Nobody else has done what Chris Paul has done. And he's done it 3 times. So Chris Paul, point guard. I'm going to leave it at that. They're going to win 4-1. Is everybody on the gentleman's sweep here?
Like fucking not even top 10 all time, but
point better than Parker.
Near the top 10. Point near the
point
top
guards
10.
of all time?
He's close.
Dude, you watched that Skip Bayless show earlier today. He watched Skip Bayless, Jobe.
He's somewhere up there. He's around there.
Okay, before I get any more enraged, let's move on to the next series. This one should be easy. We're gonna have Jobe, if you listen back to the podcast and there's a blank out for 2 minutes, I'm sorry.
We don't want to get canceled due to your stupidity, Jobe. It's pretty much
your ratings just fucking went through the roof. Come out.
All right, so the last
keep
one
it real.
Fuck
Chris Paul.
Is the Bucks and Nets. They're going on at it right now. I think they just came back from the break. The Nets are up 2-0 and they're minus 470 to win the series.
We've got a scuffle too.
I do want to ask the question, guys, and I'll start with Jobe because I think I know where Ben's going to be with this. If the Bucks go down, let's say 4-1, 4-2, which I think they're going to go down like that, is that an indictment on Giannis Antetokounmpo, or is it more of what's around him?
I don't think anybody expected them to win this series anyway.
Does he deserve any slander?
No, I mean, it just depends. If you've been putting Giannis, I haven't been. I've never been on Giannis's train. I've always known Giannis was just he was a better moving young Shaq. That's what he was.
You know, dribble from the perimeter.
Yeah. He was young Shaq with a handle who could handle it on the perimeter a little bit. So, Shaq wasn't going to get it done without Kobe. So,
does he ever get anybody to go to Milwaukee at this point? Because I think we know where the
have you ever been to Milwaukee?
I haven't. I have not myself. Yes. But Giannis,
you haven't.
Where do you have him?
Don't go
in the pantheon of the top NBA players. Do you have him top 5, top 10?
No. I mean, he's in the top 8.
He's top 10. Top
10. We had a friend who shall not be named unless we talk about it. Unless you agree, maybe I'll bring up his name. But I had somebody say Jason Tatum over Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I'd take Tatum over Giannis.
Wow. Okay. Man, I still go Giannis over Tatum.
So you think Tatum's a top 10 player in the NBA? That's insane.
No, it's not.
How is it not? You can easily name 10 guys better than him, bro. Come on.
I can name 10 guys better than Jason Tatum?
Yeah, easily.
Ben, you reel them off.
I can name them sure.
KD 1, LeBron 2, Harden 3, Curry 4, Jokic 5. AD 6. Have I said LeBron yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I
you
already
said
said
LeBron.
LeBron.
Kawhi 7. Luka 8.
Embiid.
Dame Lillard 9. Embiid 10. I haven't even said Giannis yet.
Embiid.
Come on.
I go Embiid over Tatum all day.
We got a 2-time MVP.
Hey,
We're gonna go Tatum over.
All I know is fucking
Giannis.
Tatum swept him out of the playoffs last year. All right, and I put money on that. That's how much I disrespected Embiid. I was telling Ben for weeks. I was like, bro, this is plus 400, and I'm fucking throwing at least
rolling like the Celtics last year in the playoffs a lot too.
And I was like, not for the fucking Sixers to win. No, like you didn't win shit. Get bounced.
I know, Jones, but
Mickey himself will come pack your bags and kick you the fuck out of Disney World for that bullshit.
Jones, I know, but Embiid's better than Tatum, man. I mean, I think that we can all agree Embiid is better than Tatum. Like, come on, bro. We're talking about
what has Embiid done that fucking Tatum hasn't?
Well, he's still in the playoffs and Tatum's at home
right now because fucking
he's been an MVP candidate. Tatum has never been. Like, he's a number 1 draft pick and Tatum wasn't. Like, he's better.
Tatum was number 3.
I know that's not 1. I feel you. It's not 1. What does it take to?
It's no slide on Tatum.
It's not a slide on Tatum.
It's more just a conversation for Giannis. And
I would take right now, like if I'm starting a franchise, I'd take Tatum over Embiid and Dame.
So circling back to the series, I like that point, Jobe. But circling back to the series, what you guys have seen from the Nets, and I think we are all in agreement here. The Nets are going to take the series, but do they need James Harden at any point in the series, or and do they need him to win the championship?
Title? Yeah, to win the title.
Because I mean, I was kind of already, and I don't want to sound like a predictionist or anything, but I liked the Nets to win the title when they compiled KD and Kyrie together, and then you add in Harden, and it was almost like a no-brainer. So
and Blake,
and Blake, who's playing good. I still think that they win the title without Harden. Where do you guys stand on that?
I could see them beating the Sixers without Harden, just because I think Steve Nash understands just how to get points, and maybe not defend Embiid, but I think he would just let Embiid fill up. He'd be like, "Yeah, go for it, bro. Go ahead and drop your 50, and like we'll just guard the other guys, and we'll still outscore you."
We'll trade your 2s for our 3s, pretty much.
Yeah, like I think Steve Nash is smart enough to do that. But I don't know if I trust the Clippers enough to make it to the finals. I think the Suns will do it because they just seemed like the most.
He was just hating on Chris Paul.
The most well-constructed roster. Yeah, so I might have to take the Suns.
You know, not only are you going to give him like his
and Monty Williams
hypothetical flowers.
Roland, you told him to listen back, and he didn't even have to listen back. 15 minutes later, he corrected himself.
Not only are you going to bring his
myself.
hypothetical flowers, you're going to bring a bouquet of flowers with you.
It's by default. It's because I don't trust the Clippers. I mean, I trust them enough to beat the Jazz, but I don't trust the Clippers to get to the finals. It's by default. It's a lack of options.
I think that the Nets do need Harden to win it all. To win it all, I do believe that they need Harden because the teams in the West are built pretty well, bro. The teams in the West are built pretty well all around. And I mean, when you're gonna be getting big minutes out of Mike James and some of these other guys off the bench, I don't see it in a championship. I don't see it. Like if either one, KD or Kyrie is off, they're not gonna win. When Harden's there, one of them can be off and they will still win. And Harden's also their playmaking guard. I mean, he gets everybody involved. He gets Blake easier baskets.
Wouldn't that be super funny though? If the Nets and Suns get there and then the Nets win it all, Steve Nash fucking kills the hearts of Suns fans. That'd be so funny.
And you got CP3 reuniting with James Harden and Blake Griffin.
Mike D'Antoni's in that hole too.
True.
He's in the mix. Yeah.
Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni just ripping the Suns' heart out one more time.
All right, so
that's wild.
just for the sake of the podcast here, and we just keeping the trend.
You know what? I'm
how many
fucking picking
games?
the Clippers just out of spite.
Nah. Yeah, we'll edit that, Jones. You can't be going back and forth all
Spite.
episode, Jones.
Just out of
Settle down.
spite. It's like
How many games the series that
Which
we're talking
series?
about? Bucks and Nets.
5.
How many
I'm gonna
games?
go
Five. All right.
They might. If they don't win tonight, they're gonna get swept.
Man, it'll go 5. It'll go 5. So I got the Nets moving on. We were going to talk a little bit about the awards. I'll just kind of just reel through them real quick. And you guys, if you want to talk about them, call it out. Or if not, we can just move right on. We got Tibbs as Coach of the Year. Gobert,
Monty Williams,
3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert, that's crazy. You got Jokic as the MVP. Jordan Clarkson, 6th Man of the Year. I got to eat my crow on that. I talked shit about him last year, and dude, he's a beast.
Walking bucket.
He's a bucket. He's a bucket.
don't mess with San Antonio's finest.
Julius Randle, Most Improved Player. Got to give him props there, although he disappeared in the playoffs. Rookie of the Year is not yet announced. Who do you guys like between?
Don't talk
Lonzo
about
Ball,
Dan's number one option like that.
LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, or Halliburton.
Probably Ant.
Isn't
Yeah, I
it
got
between?
Ant just because of injury.
It's not between Edwards and Ball. You don't think Ball?
Yeah,
has a
it's
shot?
Ball,
Yeah,
Edwards, and Halliburton. Yeah, Ball,
Well,
Edwards,
I
and
would
Halliburton.
think Ball has a better shot than Halliburton, though. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Although
think
I
that they
like-
give it to Ball? Do you think that they might just give it to Ball because they were in the
I got
play-in?
Edwards here.
Edwards?
Yeah, I think they give it to Ant.
All right, I'm going to go with Ball because we did say we're a Lonzo Ball podcast. So if nobody
That's
goes
true.
for Lonzo Ball, then I mean we're
Lonzo?
not. LaMelo Ball. If nobody picks LaMelo, then we're no longer a LaMelo Ball podcast.
Let's get our balls in order here, guys. All right, guys.
I like that. And well,
do you think that Ben Simmons was robbed the Defensive Player of the Year?
Fuck yes. Fuck Gobert.
Okay. Roland,
I don't know about Rob because you can pull up the defensive metrics, and I guess Gobert, his numbers are up there with the best of them. But Simmons was the guy that, for me personally, as much as I don't like, a guy like Draymond Green, or I think Kawhi Leonard won Defensive Player of the Year one, I like to see versatility out of the Defensive Player of the Year, meaning a guy that can guard multiple positions, impact the game multiple ways. Gobert is just a rim protector, to me at least. So I will say Simmons did get it. I would have gone Simmons here.
He had the game-winning block in Game 1, rolling at the 3-point line.
Yeah, true.
I mean, he put on, but I do think I agree with you. I do think that Simmons got robbed. The only other one that I would disagree with probably is the Coach of the Year. I know Jobe said Monty Williams right off the bat, and I think for sure, I mean, Monty Williams or even Doc Rivers, with taking Philly to the 1 seed, kind of had a shot, but everybody loved the Knicks being back in the playoffs. We saw Derrick Rose get a first-place MVP vote. We saw Randall clean up on Most Improved, Thibs win Coach of the Year. So big markets getting the big votes. That's what it was.
Yep. No, I like that. Tibbs, you can't really argue too much about it. I do think Monty Williams, he was my pick. I like Monty Williams. Yeah, but it's like you said with LeBron and Michael Jordan, right? Like if somebody chooses one side, you can't really be too mad at it because look at where the Knicks were before Tibbs got there, right? Completely changed that culture. You were worried about maybe here. True, but the Suns were already on an up and up, though, and they got Chris Paul. They went 8-0 in the bubble.
They were on the up and up, even though they were in like the 9th straight losing season.
They got Chris Paul, bro. What Thibs did was he went and got his guys. He brought in Derrick Rose, a guy that he trusts.
Josh
that
Gibson.
was on Thibs.
That was the 2013 Bulls all over again.
Gibbs and Rose were on Thibs, and I heard a take that the Knicks just played harder than everybody in the regular season. Kind of makes sense.
They played hard.
And that's why their record was there because they played harder than everybody in the regular season.
Hey, bro, all I know is Campaign was fucking earning a living as a sideline dancer, and now he's like an important rotation guy.
I told you Campaign was good, Jobes. I did tell you that.
So
I remember seeing him playing college.
That's pretty much it for the NBA. Joby, thanks for coming on, but I'm going to leave you with the parting shot here. Is there anything you want to get off your chest?
Fuck Chris Paul. That's
Another
what
edit.
it is.
Hey, you know what it was?
You know what? I'm gonna have a Matt outside my house that says "fuck Chris Paul." That's all
it was that floater. He
I'm gonna say
banked in
welcome.
It was that floater he banked in off Timmy, right? That's why you're like that.
Nambe.
No, that has to be
I am not a fan of dudes getting their flowers when they haven't earned them. Not a fan.
Yeah, Luka is here. No, let's leave with this. Coaching vacancies, Portland and Celtics. Jobes, who do you think fills those vacancies? I know D'Antoni is interested in the Blazers. Chauncey Billups is interested in the Celtics. Where do you see them going? I know Dame Lillard had asked for Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd said, I'm not interested.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That's
yes.
Yeah, Jason could turn it down.
What's the Blazers move, coach? And what do the Blazers have to do to get better? Because I don't see Dame leaving. So leave us with that. How do you see the Blazers situation playing out?
The Blazers need a wing, like a real defensive wing. I mean, maybe even like you know what the Blazers need? I mean, maybe it's just because there's a lot of similarities between Dame and CJ and Steph and Clay, but the Blazers fucking need Draymond. Somebody who can like orchestrate the defense, make sure everybody knows what the hell they're doing, and then somebody to take some playmaking responsibility off of Dame because it's too much for him. It's the same way Harden would gas ice, just too much. Like you just can't do it every game. You can't score 50 and fucking get 15 assists. It's just guys, you can't do that in the playoffs.
Do you think that CJ has to be traded?
These are only
If it meant getting like a legit 6'8", 6'9"
let me throw out some options at you. Tobias Harris.
No, doesn't make them better.
Okay, let's say they do like a Covington and CJ for Sabonis from the Pacers.
No.
Damn, Jobes. The fuck? What do they need? Kawhi? I mean, shit.
No. I mean, I think Draymond would fit really well.
But Draymond's not a realistic.
He's not leaving Golden State, so I mean it's a moot point. But
you're not winning shit in Portland. I'm sorry.
But they aren't trading Dame though, Roland, and I don't think that Dame is asking out either. And I don't think that he's asking out.
He's not the type of guy to ask out, but I don't know, man. He's got to get out of there, in my opinion. I don't know how that happens, but you're not winning anything in Portland. You're not going to get anybody to go there in free agency, and CJ McCollum is your best trade piece. And I don't know exactly what you get back for that. I do. He's a guy that wears it all on. Puts it all out there.
All I know. See, here's another person who was getting flowers and didn't fucking deserve them. Brad Stevens. Greatest coach ever, and now he's like, you know what? I can't fucking handle it anymore. I gotta go sit upwards in the owner part.
I would like to see Chauncey Billups get a shot. People wanted to talk shit about Steve Nash jumping in. Why not give Chauncey Billups that chance?
Chauncey Billups did deserve a chance.
Yeah.
If Steve Nash got a chance, for sure.
Sam Cassell deserves a chance too.
Sam Cassell too, the other guy who's been putting in his work as an assistant coach.
Sam Cassell's been an assistant for a long ass time. Yeah. He does deserve a shot.
All right, Jobe, I'm gonna give you one more chance. Your parting shot.
Nah, it's fuck Chris Paul in this household.
Hey, it used to be fuck the Rockets. At least now it's Chris Paul.
Fuck Chris Paul in this household. People who don't deserve it's only people who get talked about like this is where me and Ben go back and forth all the time. Ben wants me to give respect to Harden, and I respect Harden. The problem is he wants Harden to get respect like he's fucking Jordan and Bron and Steph, and he's not. He's really good. He's really fucking good. And, you know, like every single team would want him. I get it. But he's not Jordan. He's not Bron. And he's not fucking Steph. I'm sorry. He's just not Steph.
Like, look at the name that you're throwing in with those guys. That's why we fucking argue. Because you put Steph in with LeBron and Jordan.
Well, Steph is not Jordan either.
That's why we argue.
As much as
it's like Jordan, Bron,
Kawhi.
KD.
As much as I would like for this conversation to go on,
but that's it. People who don't deserve the flowers and get
as much as I would like this conversation to go on,
and that includes Chris Paul.
You've already agreed to come back on the podcast to give Chris Paul his flowers once they make the finals.
I'm gonna come back just to spite because if they don't make it, and I'm back on here, oh good lordy.
All right, we might have to do some. We might have to do some more edits at that point. But
Ben's Nestle pills. They're going to empty the can.
It's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for coming on and filling in for the NBA the NBA portion. And we got a stacked UFC card to get to. So, thanks, Jobes.
And Jobe don't know shit about UFC, so we're gonna get him.
Nah, I don't. Always leave before the main event.
All right, man. Let's get into some UFC, man.
Big
UFC
card, baby.
263. UFC 263. We got 3 5-round fights. Only 2 are title fights, but we got a little extra star power on the card. Nate Diaz, superstar. You saw Drake and Ariel's comments saying facts. 2 of the corniest Canadians I've ever seen right there. But
only right.
Did you see Ariel's? Maybe we can get into
He's
it
leaving
later.
ESPN.
What's up with that? For the Action Network?
It can't be by choice.
With our boy Stucky?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's by choice. I don't think you go from ESPN to the Action Network. But I mean, they pretty much gave his show to DC, right?
Is that what happened?
Ariel Helwani. Became the DC and Helwani show. I mean, it was all Ariel Helwani. I like his podcast personally. Before he went to ESPN, I was a fan of his.
He had a lot more guests. It was more guest driven.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. ESPN, they're not really all in on UFC, and I think DC is the guy that they keep there. So, and Helwani's had his little riffs with Dana White, so I'm sure that didn't go over well with ESPN having their top MMA guy not liked by the head of the UFC. So that's just all speculation.
It caught me by surprise, though. It caught me big time by surprise because it was such a big deal. But DC, the fucking company man, bro. That's what he's become, huh? The fucking
company man. He was a company man with the UFC, company man with the ESPN.
Facts. All right, well, let's get into this card, man. Enough about that. Let's start off with the main event, a rematch. We got Israel Adesanya, the champ, coming in against Marvin Vettori, and Adesanya minus 255, the comeback on Vettori plus 215. This is a rematch, a fight that happened about 6 years ago. It was one of Adesanya's, first couple of fights in the UFC, if not his first one. And Vettori was young as well.
They fought in 2018, 3 years ago.
Okay, 3 years ago, I'm sorry. So Vettori hell-bent on that, stuck on that split decision, saying that, he needs his shot, and here he jumps Robert Whittaker, who we've seen, piling up wins against top contenders, legitimate title contenders. But I guess that Adesanya wanted to fight, right away after losing to Jan. It was a pretty quick turnaround. It's only 3 months from Adesanya's attempt to become a champ, moving up to the light heavyweight division. So he wanted to get in there pretty quick. Whittaker had just fought. He wanted a decent camp and a good turnaround. And Vettori was a guy who's chomping at the bit. We've seen a bunch of his fights get canceled that he was supposed to have. He's a guy who always wants to get in there. Do you see the rematch going any different than the first meeting, Roman?
I'm going to sound stupid here, but after watching the bigger man take advantage of Adesanya, granted, this is a different scale. Vettori's not as big as Jan Blachowicz, but I think there's a game plan to beat Adesanya.
The blueprint is there.
There's a blueprint to beat Adesanya unless he's made some adjustments, which I'm sure he did. He's a smart guy. He has a smart team around him. But after seeing what I saw and knowing that you can control Adesanya on the mats, I'm going to go with Vettori here, man. I like him as a small dog. And it's just crazy because Adesanya, he's become like almost, I don't want to call him the face of the UFC, but he's become one of the rising stars, one of the guys that is propped up by the UFC. So dangerous matchup for Adesanya here. It's not so easy. He's been calling Vettori a meathead, but if Vettori can control the rage, I like Vettori here.
Yeah. And at plus 215, man, I think that the blueprint is there. Vettori is going to be the bigger guy. The question is the size difference that big of a deal? It was an extra 25 pounds that Adesanya moved up to fight Jan at. Vettori isn't going to have that on him. I'm still going to go with Vettori. I think the best way to look at this is this goes to a decision. I do think that we get a full 5 rounds in this main event. We're going to get our money's worth if you're purchasing this pay-per-view or if Justin's hitting you up with the bootleg link. However, I think that we're going to get our full 5 rounds.
Listening, hopefully.
Yeah, he's never listening. I think that we're going to get our full five rounds in this main event. And I see Vettori squeaking out a decision. I see him getting 4 to 5 takedowns in this fight. 4 to 5 takedowns at the
Are you saying
beginning.
one round?
Not necessarily. He might not get a takedown in the first round, but he might take him down a couple of times in the same round, because I do think that Adesanya will get up 1 or 2 times. But there will be a round or two where maybe Vettori does get to control him on the ground. Mm-hmm. The thing is, he needs to be busy when he has him on the ground. I hope that Vettori is going to be busy. Yeah, and you're saying game plan, IQ. He's got to use his IQ, and that's the clear path to victory. Now, he calls him a meathead. We've all seen Vettori get heated. We kind of like him because, whenever we see him, veins are popping out at weigh-ins and shit. Like, he's an intense dude. He's a pretty intense dude. So let's hope that he can stick to the game plan and not, try and get off track off emotion.
I'm glad you brought that up because if I don't know, man. Right now, like I'm saying, if his head's in the game, I like Vettori, but I think we'll be able to tell a lot by their face-offs in these next few days. If Vittori's like all crazy and juiced up and going crazy, then Adesanya is going to win the fight. But
he might get caught. He might get caught. Yeah.
If he's cool, calm, and collected, I like Vittori's chances, man. It's all up here for that guy. It's all up here. It's mental warfare.
I agree. Let's move on to the co-main event. Rolling another title fight. We got the bantamweights going at it. Brandon Moreno coming in as a plus 175 dog. This also is a rematch of a fight that happened late last year against Davison Figueiredo, the champ, coming back at minus 210. So last time they fought, I know Figueiredo had some COVID issues. The fight had gotten rebooked and he wasn't feeling well. They went to a decision, and I believe that it was a split decision win as well for Figueiredo. So here comes a rematch. Prior to this, if you remember, Cody Garbrandt had a fight scheduled against Figueiredo, had to pull out. Brandon Moreno steps in on short notice, gives Figueiredo all he can handle and then some, and gets his rematch, early in the summer. How do you see it going? Do you got the Mexican in Moreno, or
no,
think
man?
Figueiredo actually gets him out of there this time?
Figueiredo is going to get him out of there in the second round. I do believe him. I do think that he wasn't 100% going into that fight. I got to give props to Brandon Moreno because that was a fight that I didn't watch because I thought Figueiredo was just going to put him out. But going back and watching the fight, it was a closely contested fight. It was a split decision, but Figueiredo was not 100% going into that fight. It's another thing, if he can control his rage a little bit. I was watching the UFC Embedded a couple of days ago, and he said that he needs security whenever he sees Brandon Moreno because he doesn't like that Moreno was calling him a liar. So as long as he can stay cool, calm, and collected, I think he puts him out. He's better than Moreno in every facet of the game. So I'm going Figueiredo here by second round TKO.
Okay, I agree with you. I think that he's better with him pretty much everywhere except the cardio. I think that Moreno's better with the cardio, just because Mexicans don't give up, baby. But I'm going to agree with you. I think that Figueiredo is. I'm going to believe him. I don't think that he's a liar, but I think that part of Brandon Moreno calling him a liar and getting that heat played into him getting the rematch because Cody Garbrandt is the bigger name. He's the more known name, so they could have given Cody that fight. Moreno gets his rematch here, but I do see the champ taking care of business, and like you, I don't see the scorecards coming into play here. He caught Moreno a couple of times in the first fight. Moreno's tough as hell. He's tough as hell, but I see a TKO as well. I'm gonna say fourth round, but I do see Figueiredo getting him out of there.
I don't know if this is worth anything, but I do see a lot of the pros taking Moreno in this fight. A couple of the UFC fighters are all picking.
It was a competitive first fight, man, and you're getting plus 175. So the odds are there for what was a toss-up fight the first time around.
I'm going to have Figueiredo in a parlay come Saturday night myself. So that's where I'm going. But yeah.
All right. And then the third fight, a 5-round fight as well. Leon Edwards coming in ranked, I believe he's number 2 against Nate Diaz. Roland, Leon Edwards minus 549 is the best line you can get on Leon Edwards. The comeback on Nate Diaz plus 450. This is a fight where Leon Edwards has to come out and make a statement. He can't go and wrestle fuck this guy and get a 5-round decision win like that, because that's not going to get you the shot against Usman. If you're trying to jump Colby Covington in the rankings, you're going to have to go out there and make an example out of Nate Diaz and get some sort of stoppage. For that reason, I think the fight's going to stay standing up. And Diaz is, you said he's a live dog. Diaz is a live dog in a stand-up fight. He's a live dog in a stand-up fight.
He can take a punch.
He can take a punch. It worries me. The cuts worry me because, I mean, Masvidal, listen, Leon Edwards has nowhere near the striking as Masvidal. Not at all. The question is Leon Edwards going to try and take Nate Diaz down? If it's a stand-up fight, we're going to be in for a fucking fight of the night, I think. Because Diaz is going to make it interesting and he's not going to go away. Bro, at those odds, I got to go Diaz. Yes, Leon Edwards should be the favorite, but this is insane. This is insane. If he goes out there and just smashes him the way the line says that he should, he's up next for the title fight. Based on this line, he's up next for the title fight if he performs the way he should. But he's got to – I like doesn't go the distance in this one. And the odds are pretty good because these are two guys who usually go the distance, but this is a 5-round fight. So I like doesn't go the distance in this one.
Okay. I'm gonna, kind of side with you here, and I'm just coming as a fan. I like Nate Diaz. I think it's crazy that he's this much of a dog. I don't think 170 is his natural weight, though. He usually fights in the lower weight class, right? Am I correct? In the lightweight
he fought
division,
Conor twice at 170. So
yeah. So Leon's gonna be the bigger guy. So I see that. Leon also. I almost feel for the guy because he got his big opportunity to come back at one of the UFC fight nights against Bilal Muhammad, and the fight gets called in the first round because he poked his eye out or whatever. Yeah. So I kind of feel bad for him. But, Nate Diaz he's a gamer, man. He's a guy that is going to be in there. He's going to take you to the deep waters. He's going to get roughed up a little bit, like Ben alluded to. He's prone to cuts, so you have to worry about that. But I do like Nate Diaz's chances if he can take Leon Edwards into the 3rd or the 4th round. Even if Nate Diaz gets on his back, he's dangerous on his back. So I like Nate Diaz in this. I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in it and put down $50-$100 on Nate Diaz, but for a little lunch change on the large dog, you come out pretty good.
Or even you said you were going to put Figueiredo in a parlay. You should maybe with Diaz at plus 450 with the favorite. You're going to get rowdy odds. I mean, if Diaz doesn't hit, then maybe you just go in on Figueiredo after that.
Do you like this being a 5-rounder?
I like it being a 5-rounder for Diaz, and it's only a 5-rounder because Diaz wanted it to be a 5-rounder. Listen, Leon Edwards ain't calling these type of shots. Leon Edwards ain't getting a title fight you're not getting a 5-round fight that's not a main event. This is only a 5-round fight because Nate Diaz said, I want a 5-round fight.
Diaz is playing with house money too.
For sure. And even in watching the embeddeds that you talked about, like you see the champs, you see Adesanya hanging out at the Fighter Hotel pool, Figueiredo running sprints in the hallways. And Nate Diaz has got the fucking Conor McGregor treatment. He's got the crib rented out with the team by the pool, chilling. Like all these guys are fighting, and the biggest star on the card is Nate Diaz.
He's what I mean? Office. He's box office.
That's why it's a 5-round fight and it's not a main event or a title fight because of Nate Diaz. So he is definitely carrying this card, and it's up to Leon Edwards, man. You want to get known, go out there and make an example out of Nate Diaz. Don't go out there and beat him by some wrestling decision. That's not going to get you the title shot, bro. It's not going to get you the title shot. You got to go out there and make an example the way these Vegas line makers have you predicted to get it done.
And I do want to, talk a little bit about that because that might play a factor in this fight. Leon Edwards, he's already alluded to saying, or he's already said that he knows he needs something exciting on Saturday to get him the shot. So going in with that mentality can either work for you or work against you. It can have you going and exerting too much energy, or it can have you, getting caught, or you end up finishing the guy and you get your title shot. So
he could get into a brawl, and you don't want to get into one of those with Diaz, man. You don't, because you want to beat him technically, and if you start making it ugly, that just favors Diaz.
Going for the boy from the 209. Stop and slap.
Let's get it done. We're gonna be on him somehow on Saturday. The last fight that we'll talk about, Roland. I know you alluded to Bilal Muhammad earlier because he was the last opponent that Leon Edwards faced. He's here as a minus 225 favorite against Damian Maya, 43-year-old Damian Maya coming in as a plus 185 underdog. How do you see this playing out? Do you think that Bilal Muhammad can stuff the takedowns and kind of just, if you stay standing up and your name isn't Ben Askren, you can beat Damian Maya. But if your name's Ben Askren, Damian Maya might piece you the fuck up. How do you see this going out?
I actually like Bilal Muhammad here as a straight up pick. Maybe not have him in a parlay, but I will be taking him on Saturday night against Damian Maya. I think he can stuff the takedowns. I want to say he's bigger than Damian Maya, so he's going to have the strength on him. And like you said,
youth, the athleticism,
the youth and the athleticism. Damian Maya is 43 years old. He's on his way out of the promotion. He's done his time. Was a great competitor for a lot of his career in the UFC, but it's just past his time, and I'm going with Showtime here. He's a guy that's also trying to make a name for himself in the division. So yeah, I'm going with Bilal, and I like he's a good Twitter follower.
He also has a podcast under John Anik and Kenny Florian, so he's with them. But I agree, this is a big fight for Bilal Muhammad. I think that this is a big win that he can get under his belt. You know, we've seen a lot of guys that are in the top of the division, whether it be Colby Covington, Usman. All these guys have gone through Damian Maya. That's somebody that you have to go through to start getting those fights in the top 5. So I hope that Bilal Muhammad can stuff the takedowns. I trust his cardio, and for that reason, I'm going to agree, and I'm going to take Bilal Muhammad in this fight against Damian Maya.
Good deal. Man, it's a stacked card, man.
It is a pretty stacked card. We're not really getting into the prelims, but
you got JoJo fighting on the prelims.
Yeah, you got Joanne Calderwood. You got Drew Dober against Brad Riddell. The Bear Jew, Paul Craig against Jamal Hill.
Eric Anders is fighting.
Chase Hooper, Justin's favorite fighter. Chase Hooper's fighting against Peterson. So there's some decent fights. This is one where you kind of watch the whole. You watch the whole card up and down. This is a big card, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm going to be at a barbecue Saturday night watching it with a group of people, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, man! This is in Houston, right?
No, it's in Arizona.
Arizona. Oh shit. Okay.
Arizona.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Nice, the Oliveira one was in Houston. Oliveira and Chandler. Last one.
Should be a good card. I'm looking forward to it. I really want to see Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards. And then I'm interested in the Adesanya, but the top 3 fights I'm going to be plugged in.
And if Nate Diaz can manage to get a win, man, he could get that title shot if he wants it.
Just out of his name, and I think the champ's going to want to fight him.
He will pass up Colby Covington in a fucking heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
In a heartbeat.
Easy money.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for the podcast. We'll be coming back hopefully soon with those NFL previews like Roland alluded to, and be giving out some picks that we can track throughout the season and have some fun with on the podcast, man. I got nothing else, Roland.
That's it for me. Just got to say go Suns and the point guard.
All right, man. Episode 45 in the books. Peace.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.